The cell was supposed to be occupied. The bed was warm. The shape looked human. Then it fell apart. No blood, no body, just silence. In the most secure prison ever built, someone vanished without a trace. If no one escaped, who walked into the night? The sound came just before dawn. A low, metallic groan echoed across the water, carried by the cold wind rolling through San Francisco Bay. It wasn't a scream, it wasn't an alarm. It was the sound of iron, stone, and time grinding against each other, like the prison itself was breathing. Alcatraz stood in the distance, dark and unmoving, a slab of concrete rising from black water. To most people, it was a symbol of justice. To those inside, it was a living nightmare. They called it the Rock, and it had a reputation for one simple reason: no one ever escaped. The water surrounding Alcatraz was brutally cold, strong enough to drain the strength from a grown man in minutes. The currents twisted without warning. Sharks were rumored to circle beneath the surface. Guards liked to remind inmates of this. Even if you get out, they'd say, the bay will finish the job. In 1961, a new inmate arrived by ferry, shackled and silent. His name was Elias Crowe. He didn't shout like the others. He didn't look afraid. He stood still, eyes forward, studying the prison as if it were a machine he needed to understand. From the moment he entered his cell, Elias noticed things others ignored. The way the walls sweated with moisture, the way pipes rattled at night, the way guards followed patterns without realizing it. While other prisoners cursed their fate, Elias listened. He watched. He counted. Guards found him unsettling. He caused no trouble, yet they felt his presence. When they looked into his cell, he was often sitting on his bed, staring at the wall behind the sink, not touching it, just staring, as if waiting for it to speak. Rumors spread quietly through the cell block. Some said Elias had been an engineer. Others said he was far more dangerous than his file suggested. No one knew the truth because Elias never corrected anyone. Night after night, as fog wrapped around the prison and swallowed the sound of the mainland, Elias lay awake. He wasn't dreaming of freedom like the others. He was searching for something far more dangerous. A mistake. Because somewhere within the walls of the most secure prison in America, Elias Crowe had begun to believe that Alcatraz was not unbreakable. And if he was right, then the Rock was already in trouble. The concrete crumbled without a sound. Elias froze, his breath caught in his chest as a thin layer of grey dust settled onto the floor behind the sink. For a long moment, no one moved. The prison around them stayed quiet. No alarms, no footsteps, just the slow drip of water from a rusted pipe. It was the first real proof that Alcatraz could bleed. Elias didn't celebrate. He didn't smile. He only pressed his fingers against the damaged wall, feeling how soft it had become over the years. Salt air, moisture, and neglect had done what no man ever could. This place wasn't perfect. It was old. He chose his partners carefully. Marcus Hale was all muscle and anger, a man who reacted before he thought. Noah Reed was the opposite, sharp-eyed, patient, always watching hands and locks. They were risky choices, but Elias knew one thing: he couldn't do this alone. And trust, in a place like Alcatraz, was more dangerous than steel. The work began in silence. Stolen spoons became tools. Each scrape was slow, controlled, timed with the sound of flushing toilets and distant footsteps. The hole grew so gradually that even they could hardly tell it was changing. When guards passed, the damage vanished behind cardboard and toothpaste, blending back into the wall like it had never been touched. Every night tested their nerves. Marcus struggled to stay calm, his hands shaking as he dug. Noah whispered warnings when footsteps came too close. Elias stayed focused, counting seconds, listening to the rhythm of the prison like a heartbeat. One mistake meant solitary, or worse. But breaking the wall was only the first step. Freedom didn't end at the edge of the cell. It waited beyond freezing water and violent currents. That was when Elias revealed the next part of the plan. Raincoats, dozens of them. Stolen slowly from the laundry, folded, hidden, smuggled piece by piece. Noah stitched them together using thread pulled from prison clothes. Elias sketched designs in his head, calculating air, weight, and balance. Marcus tested the seams in the dark, pulling hard, listening for weakness. What they were building felt insane, a fragile thing meant to carry them through death itself. As the hole in the wall grew wider, so did the fear. They weren't just breaking concrete anymore. They were crossing a line they could never step back from. And the question no one dared to ask hung heavy in the air. Even if the plan worked, would the water let them live? The fog rolled in fast, thick enough to swallow the prison lights, one by one. Inside cell block B, the air felt heavier than usual. Elias Crowe sat on his bed, listening to the final footsteps of the night guard fade down the corridor. This was the moment. There would be no second chance. No going back to routine, to silence, to waiting. Whatever happened next would decide whether they lived as free men or disappeared without a trace. Slowly, carefully, Elias reached for the object hidden beneath his blanket. A crude dummy head stared back at him, its lifeless eyes made from scraps and soap. He placed it on the pillow and pulled the blanket up, just enough to fool a tired guard. Marcus and Noah did the same. The cell block looked unchanged. That was the most dangerous part. Elias pressed his hands against the wall behind the sink and slipped through the opening they had carved over months of fear and patience. The tunnel beyond was narrow and dark, filled with dust and stale air. Every movement scraped skin against concrete. Every breath sounded too loud. Above them, the prison slept, unaware it was being violated. They crawled upward into the service space, balancing on beams never meant for human feet. The smell of rust and old metal filled their lungs. Marcus nearly lost his footing, catching himself just in time. His panic spread like electricity. Elias shot him a look that said everything without a word. Steady, or we die. When they reached the roof, the cold hit like a slap. Wind cut through their thin clothes. The bay below was black and endless, moving in slow, violent waves. This was the point of no return. Elias knew it. They all did. Working fast, they inflated the Raincoat raft, hands numb, breath short. The material stretched and creaked, sounding far too fragile for what lay ahead. Then, without ceremony, they lowered themselves into the water. The cold was immediate and brutal. It crushed the chest, stole breath, shocked the body into panic. Marcus fought the instinct to scream. Noah clung to the raft, eyes wide, jaw locked tight. The fog erased the prison behind them, as if it had never existed. Then, something went wrong. A sharp tearing sound cut through the night. The raft dipped. Water rushed in. In the confusion, Noah lost his grip. Elias reached out, fingers brushing fabric, but the current was stronger. Noah was pulled away, his face vanishing into the dark water without a sound. The raft lurched forward, lighter now. Elias and Marcus paddled blindly, hearts pounding, muscles burning, not knowing if they were moving toward land or deeper into death. Behind them, Alcatraz remained silent. Ahead of them, nothing could be seen. And no one knew who, if anyone, would survive the night. The scream echoed through the cell block just after sunrise. A guard stood frozen outside Elias Crowe's cell, staring at something that should not exist. The shape under the blanket looked right. The posture looked right. But when he reached out and pulled the cover back, the head rolled free and shattered on the floor, breaking into soap, paper, and strands of hair. For a split second, the prison was silent. Then, Alcatraz erupted. Sirens wailed. Boots thundered down corridors. Cell doors slammed as guards rushed from one end of the island to the other. Every inch of the prison was searched, then searched again. Within minutes, the truth became impossible to ignore. 3 men were gone. Searchlights cut across the bay as patrol boats tore through the water. Helicopters circled overhead, scanning the surface for bodies, debris, anything. The water looked calm from a distance, but those who knew it understood how deadly it was beneath the surface. Most officials were certain of one thing: no one could survive that cold for long. By noon, the story hit the mainland. Escape from Alcatraz. Radios buzzed with speculation. Newspapers rushed out early editions. But as the hours passed, something unsettling became clear. There were no bodies. Days turned into weeks. The search continued, but the bay gave nothing back. No remains, no clothing, no trace of a raft. Officials insisted the men had drowned, pulled under by currents too strong to fight. It was the simplest answer, the safest answer. But doubt began to creep in. A fisherman reported seeing a lone figure on the water just before dawn, drifting toward the shore. Another claimed to have found scraps of unfamiliar material tangled in his nets, light and rubbery, like melted fabric. None of it was enough to prove survival, but it was enough to disturb the certainty. Inside Alcatraz, guards replayed the escape over and over in their minds. How long had the dummy heads fooled them? How much had they missed? The idea that 3 inmates had walked out of the most secure prison in America felt worse than failure. It felt personal. Officials closed the case publicly, calling it a tragic but predictable end. Privately, files grew thicker. Reports were amended. Assumptions were questioned. Because the prison had done everything right. And yet, somehow, the impossible had happened. The bay had kept its secrets. And the most frightening question of all remained unanswered. Did Alcatraz lose its prisoners? Or did it let them go? The file was never meant to be opened. It sat buried in a forgotten archive, stamped inactive, its pages yellowed and brittle with age. When the journalist finally turned it over, a thin layer of dust rose into the air, as if the past itself had been disturbed. Inside were reports that contradicted everything the public had been told for decades. Alcatraz, according to these documents, was not flawless. Maintenance logs spoke quietly but clearly. The concrete had been weakening for years, eaten away by salt, moisture, and time. Engineers had warned about it. Repairs were delayed. Budgets were cut. The walls that were supposed to hold men forever had been slowly falling apart long before Elias Crowe ever touched them. Then came the tides. Old marine charts showed something officials had never highlighted, a rare current shift on the night of the escape. Instead of pulling outward into open water, the bay flowed toward land. Survival was still dangerous, still unlikely, but no longer impossible. The official story began to feel less certain. Witness statements, once dismissed, took on new weight. The fisherman's sighting, the strange fabric found in the nets, even the abandoned vehicle discovered miles away, carrying traces that could not be easily explained. None of it proved escape, but together they painted a picture that refused to fade. Marcus Hale's trail ended abruptly. No records. No confirmed sightings, just silence. Some believe he didn't last long after reaching shore. Others think he disappeared into a life small enough to go unnoticed. Elias Crowe was different. Years after the escape, a postcard surfaced. No return address. Just an image of a distant beach and 3 simple words written in shaky ink. Handwriting experts couldn't agree. Authorities called it meaningless. But those who knew Elias remembered how carefully he chose words and how rarely he used them. Alcatraz eventually closed. Tourists now walk its halls, listening to stories of cells, bars, and ghosts. Guides talk about the escape as a mystery, a legend, a question mark in American history. But legends begin somewhere. If the prison failed, if the bay allowed passage, if even one man survived, then the most secure prison in the world did not defeat its inmates. It underestimated them. And somewhere, beyond records and rusted locks, the truth still waits. Not proven, not buried, and not ready to be forgotten.
Decide for yourself. Subscribe for more untold true crime stories.